Many people assume that if you have a PhD, work in a lab, or publish research, USCIS will automatically see you as a scientist and approve your EB-1A, your O-1, or your EB-2 NIW petition. But that's not actually how immigration law works. I've seen cases where someone with a very impressive scientific background was questioned by USCIS, and other cases where scientists working outside academia had extremely strong petitions. The difference isn't the degree or the job title. It's how you present your role, your impact, and how your work is framed within the overall legal framework. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how USCIS actually evaluates researchers and scientists' cases and how to think strategically about O-1A, EB-1A, and national interest waiver options so you can understand where you truly stand. In immigration law, scientist or researcher is broader than most people expect, but it's not unlimited. Don't count on USCIS deciding whether you're a scientist based on your job title or your degree alone. They focus on what you actually do. Traditional researcher profiles are usually easier for officers to recognize. You have an active research role, academic or laboratory-based work, clear research outputs tied to a scientific field, but USCIS also recognizes broader scientific profiles, including applied research scientists, industry research and development, interdisciplinary scientific work, scientists whose work is embedded in technology, policy, or implementation. Here's the critical requirement that many people miss. There must be a clear connection between your degree, your actual work, your proposed endeavor if you're seeking a national interest waiver, and your field if you're seeking an EB-1A or O-1. If that connection isn't obvious, USCIS won't assume it for you, even if your background looks good or strong on paper. USCIS evaluates impact differently depending on where and how you perform your scientific work. Academic scientists, for example, for an academic profile, impact is usually shown through peer-reviewed publications, citation counts, grant funding, conference presentations, editorial or peer review roles. Because this work is public and verifiable, the evidence is often easier to organize, but it has to be framed correctly. For industry or applied scientists, impact looks different. Patents and patent applications, licensed technology, royalties, products or systems adopted in the real world, government or public sector projects. The evidence usually exists, but it's rarely labeled as immigration ready. And this is where strategy matters. USCIS isn't asking whether your field is important. They're asking, how does your work advance the field or serve U.S. interests? If that answer isn't clear, even strong industry scientists can struggle. Now let's talk about O-1As versus EB-1As versus EB-2 NIWs. These categories often get lumped together, but USCIS evaluates them very differently. Let's talk about the O-1A. The O-1A is a temporary non-immigrant visa. It requires a job offer or a petitioner, focuses on current ability and recognition. It's often used to get you working quickly without going through the H-1B lottery. It's a strong option for scientists who need flexibility, time, and lawful status while building a longer-term case. Now let's focus on EB-1A. The EB-1A is a permanent immigrant category with a very high standard. It requires sustained national or international recognition, focuses on extraordinary ability at the top of the field. This is best suited for scientists with clear field-level impact and visibility. Now let's talk about the national interest waiver. The EB-2 NIW is also permanent, but the focus is different. USCIS looks at the national importance of your proposed endeavor, whether you are well-positioned to advance that proposed endeavor, whether waiving the job offer benefits the United States. This makes NIW a strong option for scientists whose work serves U.S. interests, even if they don't meet the EB-1A extraordinary ability standard. Across all these petitions, USCIS consistently looks for a few core elements: a clear, legally defined proposed endeavor for NIWs or future work for EB-1As and O-1s, evidence that directly supports a showing that the endeavor is in the national interest if you're seeking an NIW, impact shown through citations or adoption, funding, licenses, or real-world use, consistency between your degree, your work history, and your claimed scientific role. One of the most common pitfalls I see is this. Someone is trained as a scientist, but their current role doesn't match their proposed endeavor. When that narrative isn't aligned, USCIS starts asking really hard questions. This is where many scientists get stuck, not because they lack credentials, but because it's unclear how their work fits within these categories. In our free high-skill visa evaluation, my team and I review your background the way USCIS would. We assess how your scientific profile is likely to be evaluated and help identify which strategy actually makes sense for you. You can find the link right in the description below. O-1s, EB-1As, and EB-2 NIWs are not competing labels, and the right tool depends on your evidence, your timing, and your long-term goals. Many scientists qualify for more than one option, but not always at the same time and not with the same strategy. Understanding how USCIS sees your scientific role and your endeavor is what allows you to choose wisely. There's no single best visa for scientists. The right option depends on how USCIS will evaluate your body of work, your achievements, and how your impact is documented, how you're recognized in a field, and whether you're planning for a temporary stay or a permanent path. And once you understand which option fits your profile, the next strategic question is timing, specifically whether paying for premium processing actually helps your case or just adds pressure where you don't need any. In my next video, I break down when premium processing makes sense for EB-2 NIW cases, when it can backfire strategically, and how to decide based on your individual situation. I recommend watching that next.